Hey there and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something super interesting. American versus British English. What's the deal with them? What are the differences? Let's get right into it.
So have you ever been talking to someone and maybe an American says cheers when they mean thank you? Or maybe you've heard someone from Britain use a word that sounds like it came straight out of a Hollywood movie. Yeah, that's happening all the time now, and we're about to figure out exactly why.
Okay, so first things first, let's look at how American English is kind of influencing things in Britain. For a really long time, the flow of language was pretty much a one-way street. From America all the way over to Britain.
And believe it or not, there's actually a name for this. It's called Americanization. It sounds a bit fancy, but it's a really simple idea. All it means is that American words and phrases are just popping up more and more in Britain.
So, for years and years, this has been the main story, right? This big arrow of influence pointing straight from the US to the UK. But why? What makes American culture so influential? Well, let's break it down.
You can probably guess the biggest reason. It's all about media. Think about it. So many people in Britain are binging American TV shows on Netflix, listening to American artists, and scrolling through American websites and apps. I mean, they're hearing American English constantly, every single day. So it's only natural that some of those words start to stick, right?
But hold on a second. That one-way street? It's not so one-way anymore. There's some new traffic coming in the other direction. Now let's flip things around and see how British English is starting to make its mark in America. And yep, you guessed it, this has a name too. It's sometimes called Anglocreep. It's basically the exact opposite of Americanization. It's when those British words and phrases start to, well, creep into everyday American English.
So now the arrow is pointing the other way. British English is starting to have its own moment in the US. But why would an American want to start using British words? What's the appeal?
A lot of the time, it really just comes down to style, Using a British word can make someone sound a little more sophisticated, maybe a little more worldly, like when someone says cheers instead of just thanks, or calls something brilliant instead of great, or even calling their apartment a flat. It's a tiny little change, but it can make you sound kind of cool.
Okay, so we've seen words going from the US to the UK. And now we've seen words going from the UK back to the US. So what happens when these two streams start to mix together? Well, you get something totally new.
This middle ground is what a lot of people are starting to call Transatlantic English. And it's exactly what it sounds like, a mix of both. It's not 100% American, and it's not 100% British. It's more like a bridge, a shared language that helps connect the two.
And really, this is the big idea. It's not a one-way street anymore. It's a two-way street. It's a conversation. Language is flowing back and forth, creating this awesome shared version of English.
So who's making this happen? Is it linguists? Nope. It's just regular people. Tourists visiting London or New York. Business people flying back and forth for work. They're the ones mixing it all up and spreading this new kind of English.
All right, so this is all really interesting, but what does it actually mean for you, especially if you're learning English? Let's bring it all together and talk about the most important thing to remember.
Here's the bottom line. American and British English are way more similar than they are different. And with all this mixing we've been talking about, this Americanization and Anglocreep, that gap between them, it's getting smaller all the time. They're basically growing closer every single year.
So seriously, don't stress about it. If you accidentally use a British word in America or an American word in the UK, it's really not a big deal. The best advice I can give you is this. Just don't be too hard on yourself. You absolutely do not need to memorize every tiny difference. Trust me, people are going to understand you. And all of this leaves us with one last, kind of mind-blowing question to think about. If the language is changing this much now, what on earth is English going to sound like in, say, 50 years? I mean, will the differences even exist anymore? It's pretty wild to think about, isn't it? Thanks so much for joining me today.